Welcome back to Watching the Throne on the Late Night Chat Network, episode 71. There we go. Now you guys are getting into it.
This one, right? The one where you hold the big one. What's it called?
Oh, the cello. Yeah.
It only took 70 episodes, but now you like the song.
Because he's gonna miss it.
It was a cello. I don't think it was a violin.
Welcome back, everybody. I am Maester Stats here because I give all the fucking explanations of every episode here as I go through the synopsises. Of course, Nico, and then we got our co-host JT here.
JT, full of the shits.
Lord JT, we can't answer a question, and we got our returning super fan guest Christina, aka Secret Keeper here. How you doing?
I'm good. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
She's the super fan of many faces. Or name, sorry.
Thank you for coming back and enduring us for another episode, putting up with us for another episode here.
Or me.
And as I mentioned previously, Christina is going to be with us throughout the entire final season. So 2 more episodes to go after this, and those are going to be big doozies. And I did want to mention at the start of the episode, first off, like and subscribe as always, but stay tuned because after this show, we are going to be doing House of the Dragon. Maybe we can talk to Christina coming and joining us for one of those episodes as well. We'll see what happens. If she make the time, that we'll definitely make it happen. You know, when the new season comes out this summer, I don't think we have an official date as of yet, but I know that they're saying summer of 2024. We will be doing a recap after every episode every week, not directly after, but like the week following the new episodes as they come out. So that'll be a lot of fun. So stay tuned, guys. If you did like this show, we are going to be doing House of the Dragon as well, leading up into the new season. So just so everyone knows. And yeah, thank you once again to our guest Christina for joining us here. There's always a lot of fun. Super fan Christina here.
Am I really a guest at this point? Yeah, like, I don't know.
You're basically the third co-host at this point. Yeah,
I'm kidding. You guys have done all the work, so no, I'm just
listen. You coming on here, busting out the factoids as you do, putting up with JT. These are big things, right?
Asking the hard-hitting questions that cannot be answered.
Right. That's what I do. That's what I do best. Got a few here too coming. Get the pen and paper.
It's always a lot of fun. And just again, as a teaser, Christina originally talked about the finale along with me 5 years ago when it first aired on our late night chat show, which is obviously where the first show that we did on this whole network of shows, all the shows that we've done here. Check the playlist. I think it's like episode 20 something, but we're going to go back and listen to that prior to us talking about the last episode again to see if our thoughts have changed. So that should be very interesting. I will promote it on the episode prior to the last episode. I will say the episode number for anybody that does want to check that out when that airs, because we are recording these ahead of time, of course, for banking some of these. So yeah, it's been a fun time. Christina, you're really worried about that, on your thoughts, how they've changed? Like, come on, you got to stay.
I know my opinion has changed. I know that for a fact. And I also know how passionate and aggressive I can be sometimes. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what my 5-year ago self had to say about something. Because, a lot of shit has happened in 5 years. I'm a different person. Well, not really, but you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, well, just like the show, you've had a character arc of sorts, right? Like you were in a different place in your life than you were 5 years ago than you are now, right?
So finally got to the north. If 5 years ago, from 5 years ago, you would have been King's Landing. It took you 5 years to get to the north.
Exactly. I finally made it to Winterfell.
That's right. Yeah.
all grown up. There you go.
Yeah.
Or it's like the final season where things happen second to second. You make far, big leaps and bounds in your life, big changes from one moment to the next, right? Some people's lives are like that too. So there you go. It all comes back to Game of Thrones, guys.
It'll be very interesting to relive that.
It will be. And I think it'll just be interesting to hear the fact that we actually have that on the record. I thought, listen, because we don't really have many time capsules out there in that sense, other than the podcast where you can go back and be like, it's on the record. This is how I felt at the time, right? So it's kind of cool. Like, other than us knowing deep down how we kind of felt somewhat like at that time.
Or like old Facebook albums that
right.
need to be put on private nowadays.
Yeah, comments that come up sometimes. I'm like, whoa. So no, those are interesting things that pop up for sure. But relics from the past. So anyways, moving on. Stay tuned for that. That'll be a lot of fun. That will be, I'm really looking forward to that. Possibly JT will tell us his feelings about the finale when we do get to that point. It'll be interesting here if he has any fucking comments on that, or if he's gonna start telling us the plot, or questioning certain aspects of the show.
They're gonna come on the next season.
He's gonna turn around. But where was the Starbucks cup? Which is in the last episode, Jay. I'm just giving you a heads up now. It's in the last episode.
I've been looking.
It's in this episode.
No, it's in the last episode. Is it in this?
No, it's in this one. I saw it.
Did I miss it, or is there more?
You missed it.
Because when I looked it up, because I googled it, because I wanted to see where
it's this one. Because I saw it.
When I googled it, it said it was the last episode. Okay,
no, it can't be the last episode, because you know what happens in the last episode, and they're not sitting at a table breaking bread. Okay, in the last episode.
Tell us when it happened then, because I'm gonna have to go back. When I get to the scene, just tell me which scene it is then, because we're gonna have to. I'm gonna have to look at this then, because I missed it too. Then I was because I was convinced it was the last episode. Okay, all right. But anyways, guys, we are gonna be talking about The Last of the Starks, which is Game of Thrones season 8, episode 4.
It's there.
Oh shit, you're right. Is that what you just Googled? I thought I said the last episode when I Googled it. Well, I was wrong then. Okay, we'll get to it.
Yeah, it's this one. Yeah.
We'll get to it. So you're gonna spoil something. Get off of there.
I just want to see where it was spotted, because I can't remember in the episode.
So you'll have to let us know, Christina, where it happened then. Yeah. So Last of the Starks, Game of Thrones season 8, episode 4. Everyone, first off, any overall thoughts about this one following the last episode? What do you think of this, Jay? Any opinions or thoughts on this episode?
This episode was good, very good. You can figure out what we learn, a lot of new things about people. So that we didn't know yet. Hey, we can find. We'll get to it. Don't worry. There'll be some questions and maybe some off-tone comments of myself, but I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, off-color comments from you. What do you think about revisiting this?
I can't wait to hear them. I like this episode. It seemed a lot longer than I remembered it. There's so much that happens in this episode. Yeah. Again, I think it's like, the nature of the season. They're just speeding through everything at the same time, which was infuriating when it originally aired, because it just felt like, it took months and months and seasons for, points to be in storylines to evolve prior to this one. And now this season comes up and it's just like everything happens so quick, but this episode, there was a lot to unpack. So I feel like we're going to have a lot to talk about in this one.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I quite enjoyed this episode a lot too. I thought this was actually a really good one. Possibly the best episode so far this season, because as we talked about the first 2 episodes that we did combined, our comments on those were that they really should have combined a lot of the events of those first 2 episodes, where the events of those first 2 episodes in a season that only consists of 6 episodes feels like they really could have did a lot more with those first 2 episodes, and in terms of moving the story forward. I did like the episodes, but I just don't think they were well, the time wasn't really, I think, taken into consideration of all the big things that were forthcoming, right? There was a lot, I guess, character building moments still, even at this point in the show, in those scenes, in those first 2 episodes, right? But then last episode was a clearing of the decks of sort, which was a really great episode and addressed a lot, even amongst all the we seen the completion of one of the two big storylines, which I guess would consist of the first 3 episodes of this season. And then these next 3 episodes of this season really are focused on the other big storyline that we've been following throughout this whole the series, which is the fight for King's Landing, right? Which we've already dealt with the undead, and now we're moving on to the King's
for the throne. Yeah.
Right. So like if you look at it from that in that perspective, like it actually is divided pretty well because they did give lots of room still with 3 episodes to go with this other part of the story. But like Christina mentioned, there's so much going on in this episode, so much that they got to get through in this one to kind of even address the events that are going to go down in the next 2. Right. Yeah. So like, there's a lot going on right now, which we really didn't even get a chance to touch on last episode because the whole episode was a war episode, essentially, like the whole battle. Right. So yeah, this might be my favorite so far because if you want to you want to compare this to like older seasons of the show, this was like I think most in line with what we've come to expect with everything going on within, you know, all the drama amongst all the characters and stuff that was really present in this episode, right? Yeah. So yeah, so good stuff, I thought. But anyways, we'll get into it here.
Another long episode.
Yeah, another one. Yeah. All over an hour at this point, right? So following the final battle against the White Walkers, Winterfell has been cleared of the thousands of corpses in and around it. The fallen are gathered into dozens of funeral pyres, and Jon Snow gives a eulogy that is the duty of those who survived to keep them alive in memory for generations to come. Also, sorry, because I just started reading off here. I made a couple other notes because even prior to that stuff happening, we kind of see an overview of like post-battle shit. We see, you know, Daenerys kind of mourning for Jorah, Sansa mourning for Theon. We're kind of seeing a lot of mourning moments like for the characters kind of like prior to even the events of Jon and the speech and everything else, right? What'd you guys think of Jon's speech? I thought it was a pretty solid eulogy speech, actually. I thought, like in this moment, I think Jon always knocks it out of the park with his speeches. I thought this was another strong kind of showing for him in that sense. What did you guys think?
Yeah, like his speech was obviously very moving, but it's also it's what he used a lot of the words that they use in the Night's Watch. When they're mourning or at a funeral for Night's Watchmen, like they use the same words or something like that. So he's in that regard is honoring them that way too.
Fallen soldiers, so they are, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah, as Christina just said, yeah, quoting the funeral speech used for members of the Night's Watch, he announces that they were the shields that guarded the realms of men, and they will never see their likes again. Now their watch is ended. The assembled leaders go forward with torches to light the pyres. Sansa Stark weeps over Theon Greyjoy's body, taking a pin with the Stark direwolf sigil off her own gown and adding it to his chest to show that he was a Greyjoy and had redeemed himself as a Stark. Yeah, which was really cool. Like, I liked that moment, actually. That was very symbolic of that. And Daenerys lights Jorah Mormont's pyre. Jon lights young Lyanna Mormont's pyre. Arya lights Beric's pyre. And Sam lights the pyre of Dolorous Edd. So, yeah.
There's a lot more pyres than that. There's a lot fucking...
Yeah, right. But these are the big characters that we lost last episode that they had all too, right? So...
It's weird. They just didn't get the dragon to come put the fire. That's what I...
That night, the survivors hold a victory feast in the Great Hall of Winterfell, though so many died that the mood is somber at first. Gendry gets up to look for Arya, but as he passes the high table, Daenerys calls on him, noting that he is Robert Baratheon's son, the man who overthrew her family. Yeah, so, you know, this would be the first FaceTime you really had with her since they laid together, Jay. That that prior to the battle, right? They're gonna use nice words here. What'd you think about that? You think he was trying to get another crack at it, as we know here coming up here, or he's tries to pull an honorable move? I feel like we'll get to it, but what do you think about that? Do you think he should have pursued her, or should he just thought that was like a one night stand in the heat of battle, upcoming battle? Gendry, do you think it was?
No, I don't think he was. I don't think he was worried about what she was gonna say to him.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think he was, well, I was worried. Like, I mean, the first time that I watched it, I was like, oh boy. Cause at this point, it's like, yeah, like what Nico said, like his family, the Baratheons, were the ones who started this war and like usurped the throne, like from the Targaryen. So it's like now you have one of Robert's sons, like here. Anyways, what she does with that like instead is honorable, but it's scary at the same time.
The only reason why I thought that too is because I didn't really think so bigly. Because when you're seeing them eat as a meal, you can kind of see the division around. Like with still everybody, even though they're all there as one.
Yeah,
there's still groups, and look, Daenerys is looking on.
Like it's like it's very clicky. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, right? Yeah. Well, we'll get to it. I think.
Yeah, we will. We'll talk about that.
Allies and shit.
Yeah. So Daenerys calls on him, noting that he's just the Robert Baratheon's son. Daenerys then asks him who is the Lord of Storm's End. Now that Robert is dead, he says he doesn't know. Then she asks the entire hall rhetorically who the Lord of Storm's End is now, with both of Robert's brothers, Stannis and Renly, also dead. Daenerys declares that she will make him the new Lord of Storm's End as a reward for his heroism. Gendry is shocked and says he cannot be, as he is only Robert's bastard son. Daenerys quickly addresses this by announcing that in her power as queen, she legitimizes him as Gendry Baratheon, rightful son of Robert, nominally the new Lord of Storm's End and a head of a revived House Baratheon. Davos from the Stormlands toasts the newly made Gendry Baratheon, followed by the rest of the hall. Quietly at the main table, however, Tyrion notes to Daenerys with approval that this wasn't an altogether altruistic move, but politically wise, this props up Gendry as a rival claimant to rule of the Stormlands instead of Cersei, while at the same time pacifying what could have been a rival claimant to the Iron Throne by making him dependent on her favor. Sansa looks over at the exchange between Daenerys and Tyrion, slightly distressed. Yeah, and then she kind of like gloats. Oh, see, you're not the only clever one. Like, so she's kind of getting all her ducks in a row by doing this. This is why
it's planning your next move, right?
But not only that, listen, I think it's a smart move on her part, but it's not because it's out of the kindness of her heart. It is all a move to basically put him in a position of power that would align with hers if she takes the throne.
He has no choice but to take hers.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and then also in that same sense, like, it makes her look a good person, in front of all these people, right? Yeah. So it's kind of like, just for the look more so than the actual like thought behind it, where she's like, oh, look at me, I'm a great person. I don't know.
No, that's exactly it. 100%.
Yeah.
Girls are playing a better game, though, is what I'm trying to say too. And they seem like to be.
Of course, they're all in the positions of power at this point, right?
That's why they never gave him power till after the show.
However, despite any lingering resentment, the mood is lightened and the hall becomes more celebratory as everyone starts drinking heavily and boasting about their deeds in the battle. Tyrion talks to Davos, who tells him about Melisandre's death. He was going to kill her, but then she died, or her god did it to her. Davos wonders what this all means. He hated her, but she had a real connection to some sort of higher power, which she called the Lord of Light. But whatever it was, their last connection to it ended with her. Why, he wonders, would this divine power directly intervene in their affairs, only to then leave them after the great danger passed? With the White Walkers defeated, what are they supposed to do now? Tyrion says he doesn't think pondering the subject will make him any happier. Davos says he's not trying to be happy, and Tyrion remarks that's good. We have defeated them, but we still have us to deal with. Some good questions posed here, though, right? Like, it's kind of like a whole thing of faith and you know what I mean? Like actual faith that people have in real life for like a higher power, right? Like, it's true. Now he's like, what? We're supposed to ignore everything that just occurred, right? Like, and why would they have done that? And then now they're just gonna turn their backs on us, right? Like, it's kind of interesting. He does pose some interesting questions, right? Like, I like that someone at least is thinking, posing these questions out of everybody. What do you think about all this, Christina? Do you think that's like more of like them commenting on faith, like in real life, almost like as well, just because,
Well, I think, I mean, I don't know. Now I'm going to get too technical. I don't think it's this technical, but like faith has always been a pillar of strength, in any timeline. Like, if you think about centuries of civilizations, it's always been based off of faith, because, people need something to think about, to dream about, to keep them in line almost, or to give them hope for something. There has to be a reason that these good things happen. I mean, or these bad things happen, right? Like, it's not like it can't just be just because, right? And I think when you're trying to put things like, things being lit on fire and people being resurrected from the dead, like, you can't, as a human or as a non-faith believer, like, you can't describe that, or you can't understand why that happens. But if you have faith in something, then you have something to believe in. So I don't know, like,
no, well put. No, I mean, listen, yeah, I mean, that's what I mean. Like, I don't think it's so easily explained, right? I think, and that's why, like, the fact that he was trying to explore some of these thoughts here in this scene, and then they kind of obviously have to move on from it here. And, as Tyrion says, like, we have other problems to deal with at this moment. We can't really be sitting here pondering why things happen, because there's a lot of talk about, like, predestined type stuff that have happened in here, and you know what I mean? Like, yeah, well, and, like, if you trace it back, like, every war is connected to religion in some way in that sense too, right? If you wanted to get into faith and all that kind of stuff. But that's, I think, deeper than whatever was mentioned here, right? So anyway. Tyrion then speaks to Bran Stark, pointing out that as Ned Stark's last trueborn son, he should be the lawful heir to Winterfell and the North. But Bran says he won't ever be a lord now, as he is the magical three-eyed raven and removed from human affairs. Tyrion says he envies Bran for his powers, but Bran says he wouldn't. He mostly just lives in memories of the past now. Look at her face.
Let's just remember this scene and every other scene where he's like, I am no one. Okay, let's just remember this.
Apparently, a lot of the Starks
in the end.
You know what's funny now, though? Because once that storyline's been wrapped up now, even as a three-eyed raven, like, he's even more useless now than he was before. You thought he was
exactly, which makes the end so infuriating.
Well, we'll get to that. When we get to that. You know what?
I believe he's going to be the savior in somewhere.
Okay.
Along the lines. So
yeah.
I think there's something to do with him. Still.
Yeah, you do think? You think he has a very important part to play in the last events of the show?
Yeah, as much as he gets.
Okay. No, I like it. Yeah, busting out the theories.
I just feel because just even with those one-liners could mean a real lot if you really think into it. If you overthink what their one-liners are.
You want to hear my takeaway from this this scene, other than some of Christina's thoughts on it, which I agree. How useless he is at this point. It's kind of a sad existence when you think about it for this character, right? Like, I mean, like,
you almost feel sad about it.
What existence did he have to begin with?
Right, but like now,
he was a child when he fell out.
But now
he would have had a whole life ahead of him.
Okay. See, the aggressive passion is like, simmer down, simmer down.
No, it's true though. He's right. He's got a point, because like he there was that he was a child. His life as a child was taken away from him as a result of who his family were, and then he became a cripple. Then he was forced into this whole predestined situation where they're like, listen, you're important to the whole grand scheme of things, how they're going to play out. No choice in the matter, mind you. Everyone kept pushing him to this whole thing. Now he's like some guy staring into the cosmos in a wheelchair who's like, right? No, that's true though. And he literally says, I live in the past now. Sad fucking existence. I'm sorry. It is like, and now what does he have? Like he literally has to sit in that chair till like the next three-eye raven, or go and become part of the fucking tree like that last guy, right? Like what does he really have now to look forward to, right? I don't know. It is a sad existence when you think about it. It is. That's what I wrote down. I'm like, kind of a sad existence when you put it this way. Just the way like even Tyrion's like, oh yeah, great job, and he's just like, I live in the past. Like, bro, you're like 10 or whatever how old he is, 12 year. Like, what are you talking about?
It's okay. He still has a chair.
No, he's like what, 14? He's got to be like 14, 15 here, right? Is that how old he is here? Like, I don't know.
I don't.
Yeah, it's hard to say.
He's got to go post puberty, I would think. But maybe never got laid. But yeah, post puberty. So he's got a cool chair apparently.
Yeah.
You know what, Nico? I will give you a little bit of credit. My my heart is a little bleeding for him. You know, maybe after that explanation, I can like understand. Okay, fine.
No, there you go. No, it's just that and honestly, that was just my honest reaction after this scene. I started thinking about it, and I agree with you. He is pretty useless as a character, but if you just think about it, it's just a sad fucking existence for a character at this point, like in this setting,
this little
right now.
setting here.
That
they talked, right? He said something about that chair, right? So now I'm trying to write down all these things about these Targaryens, because that was 120 years ago.
This guy overthinks it too much.
Godswood tree, the fucking chair. Oh my gosh.
120 years ago was House of Dragons. So we'll have to see if that chair has any significance in the new series.
This guy's down the fucking rabbit hole.
Targaryen. That was the guy who was based off of.
That's
chair.
right. He created the wheelchair.
No, he's the one. Because it was a replica.
No, I know. Tormund and Sansa encourage Jon to chug an entire horn of wine in one go. Jon declines. Vomiting is not celebrating, but Tormund replies, "Yes, it is." And raises his horn to the Dragon Queen as the hall cheers. Daenerys stands up and makes her own toast to Arya Stark, the hero of Winterfell, prompting more cheers and getting a smile from the Hound. The Hound. There you go, Jay. Jon and Daenerys share a smile, which is noticed by Sansa, who leaves the table. Meanwhile, Tyrion settles into playing his I have never styled drinking game with his brother Jaime, Brienne of Tarth, and Podrick Payne. Jaime and Brienne playfully argue over whether or not she told him she was an only child, but Brienne ends up having to take a drink. Then Jaime tells Brienne she danced with Renly Baratheon. She looks at Pod, who smiles and shrugs, and Tyrion simply tells her, drink. Okay. So in this scene with the Daenerys, do you think that she's kind of looking around and only sees enemies in this moment?
I think how they still think that men have the power still, because they're all fucking.
I don't think it's that.
Yes to Jon. They're all cheering.
I don't think it has anything to do with that.
She just doesn't feel loved as much.
I think it's what you touched on earlier, is that it's very cliquey right now, and she's not really necessarily fitting in. Like as she's not from the north. Yeah.
You know, and in the South, apparently they sleep with each other. They sleep with their own family. In the North, they don't do that very much.
What do you think, Christina? Because I think her bit of acting, just like the looks on her face during this scene, I thought was done pretty well, because it said a lot without saying as much. You know what I mean? Like, yeah.
Got that bitch look.
I think she obviously has a goal, which is the throne. And I think she's looking around and realizing that, you know, she still has her goal that she's like thinking about. Nobody else is thinking about it, and it's scaring her because she's done so much for the North, for humanity, you know, for all these people. And, you know, on top of the fact she's looking around and seeing how, you know, everybody loves Jon, and she's looking around and seeing how her hand is, you know, enjoying himself with his brother, who is an enemy. And I think she's just double guessing and being really insecure. I think that's another thing that Daenerys is not used to being, is insecure and weak. And I think being in that hall makes her feel weak.
Yeah, well put. No,
she's overpowered.
Well put. Yeah, you're right. You're right. I think, that's.
But they toast Jon. Like, I mean, even when they were saying.
Yeah, that was awkward AF. Like in the next scene after this drinking scene and whatever, when they were going off, you know, talking about Jon, all of his qualities and all of these things. And it's just like, oh boy. At one point I was just like, shut up.
You know, actually, a point worth mentioning too, that I just realized off of what you said, that you pointed out. You made a really great points there about how she's feeling. Is also that she doesn't really necessarily, I mean, I guess she does, but she's having sex with him. She doesn't have family here. Like, all these people have family and friends. And even though there's a lot of loyalists to her that she's gained while she's kind of journeyed to this point in time, that people backing her, that are believing her, that are behind her, she really doesn't have any, she really hasn't had the time to get to know anybody on a level of like, we're friends.
Intimacy.
Yeah. And she's tried to do that, no matter how like veiled it is by whether or not she actually cares about it, or if she's just doing it because she wants to secure her spot on the throne and she's worried about the whole Jon thing now. But even like when she's reaching out to like the Sansa and stuff, or when she's trying to like, you know what I mean? Like try to be nice or have like a girl talk type moment with her in that last episode where they had that moment and she kind of was very cold to her because she cares about her place in Winterfell. And I get it. The problem is just too many politics type shit going on and like allegiances and things like that to like really, she can never have that with anybody. I feel like at this point, that's the problem. Like, I don't think she can actually. Right. Go ahead. Yeah. Go ahead, Christina. Yeah.
No, I think this is okay. So, I'm going to be a little bit of I don't want to say misogynist or whatever, but I think this goes to the point where it's like, this is why men at this time or in general, like men might make better rulers.
Right.
I don't believe that at all. But it's like, I think because women tend to be more emotional, and in her emotional state, like she's falling in love with Jon and she's losing herself. And before, she never would allow anybody to come in, like especially after losing Drogo, and she realized, she was weaker when she was in love, and when she lost him and she got strong, people followed her. And now that she's in love and she's still trying to move forward, she can't have both.
No, you're right.
And I think that's also scaring her too. It's like she can't have both.
Women don't have the freedom to not be judged the same way that, I see.
Right. And so it's a bad, like there's so many internal, and I think me as a woman, I can see that. I don't know if like you guys might not be able to see that, but on top of everything I said prior to this statement, like I think there's that element too, that like, it's everything.
No, you're right. And to your point, I didn't necessarily see that, but I get that. I get that perspective. And right. I know that in society, like there's the whole thing about women, they can't do everything like, or get judged the same, let's say, that men would. And I get it. Even in this position.
Another example, like let's just go Jon and Ygritte. Let's go back a few seasons, and it's like Jon was in love with Ygritte, but he was still able to like separate like the point, like his loyalties and his point. No matter, he still loved her, but he was still able to separate that, whereas she wasn't able to. Like she couldn't kill him, like she couldn't shoot him with the arrows when he was escaping. She couldn't stab him, and she couldn't like, you know what I mean? Like it's a terrible like stereotype, of course, but it happens.
It
happens.
Yeah. Even in this show though, no, she's got a point, because even in this show, with all the women, even though they're coming from these positions of power and everything else, amongst society, there's a lot of societal type stuff or things that are traditionalism still, that they even talked about here, even with the whole Varys thing. Varys pointed that out. People trust men more. They're better rulers. Like this is just a known fact. Like he was reeling back. Like he talks about that, I think, in this episode, or even previous to this, when he starts, to unravel the fact that, I'm not so sure about what's going on here. Right.
Yeah. And we can talk about that, like, because at the end of this episode, there's a conversation that's had. And I think it goes back to what we're talking about now, like with this.
Yeah. Good point. Well put. Well put. Go ahead. Yeah.
To touch on your thing, then she has that last name too. So that last name is always followed around, right? So
exactly. Yeah, that's another thing. It's like the Targaryens are not known for good things, like so far. So she's coming in here with this last name that's like, coming off the heels of a mad king, and Targaryen,
she's the last of her people, essentially, like that.
Right.
Yeah. Well, that most people at this point know, right? Right.
The vast majority of people assume she's the last of them. So anyways,
well put. No, well put all around. There you go. JT's redeeming himself this episode. No, I'll lay off. I'm just joking around. All right. Meanwhile, a drunken Tormund laughs and drinks, praising Jon and going over their history. He made friends with an enemy, got himself killed for it, but didn't stay dead, which everyone seems to laugh off as some drunken boasting.
I was like, is anybody gonna catch on to this? Like, seriously.
Yeah, and then he keeps fighting. Daenerys watches this exchange despondently, and when Tormund declares he climbed on a fucking dragon and fought, what kind of person climbs on a fucking dragon? A madman or a king? Tapping into what we talked about with his Targaryen kind of thing. That's why she's like, shut up over there. Right. So John turns around to look at Daenerys, who gives him a smile, that smirky smile.
You know that smile. As a man, you know that smile. I know that smile from coming from a man. I know that if a man's looking, if my husband is looking at me with that smile, it's because whatever is being said around is not making me feel good.
Right.
And he's just trying to pacify the, like, you know, the Calabrese in me. That's like gonna like
yeah.
You're not supposed to act
it's
on it,
the look of like, I'm not the one saying this. I'm not in agreement with what's going on. Yeah.
Can't be mad at me. Don't be mad at me.
Himself from the conversation that they're gonna have after the fact.
That's a learning lesson, everybody.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, no, she's right. She's right. Yeah.
But okay, yeah. So Tormund says that about the dragon. Sorry, I know we're nitpicking now here, but like, you know, he says, and it's like, you know, who gets on the back of a dragon at, like, you know, a madman or a king. So it's like, there's double it. Okay, yeah. Who gets on the back? Targaryens, right? So it's like, okay, if nobody's clued into this fact, maybe they will, or maybe Daenerys is like, you know, might be cause for rebellion. What if somebody just decided to just hop on the dragon's back? Nobody's tried.
Right.
Nobody's tried.
And on top of that, if you're looking for somebody to be your king, by the way, he's the only other fucking guy that knows how to ride the dragons, right? Like, that's, again, he's got one up on everybody else.
It's also like a disrespect thing, because here they are saying like, oh yeah, you're our queen, or so John has made us believe you're the queen, but you're not really, because we have a king. Like,
if
you're not important, he is.
Yeah, if they cheer him on, maybe if they ever do find out he's not what his last name is, maybe
it's just insecurity, and it's brewing inside of her, like, and you could just see it slowly build in this like episode. Especially, it's like slow build
in this episode. That's one of the notes I made here. Yeah, she starts to unravel in this episode.
This is gonna kill John.
This she starts to kind of, you see the you know, she's, and the first time around, and you know, we're gonna get into it more in the next two episodes without spoiling anything. There was a lot of out of character moments that people were saying were happening the first time around in this final season. So that's all I'll say.
Oh yeah, I mean,
and we'll have to and by the way, because Jay's never seen it, we'll re-examine those moments when we come to them, and we'll see if we actually feel like any of these things are out of character. And you can comment on that too, because you've followed these characters for several seasons. You'll know just as well as anybody, right? But I feel like the first time around, people were calling out things that they thought came out of nowhere because the characters didn't naturally get to these points, right, Christina? Like, that is,
I was one of them. I was 100% one of them, because I think when you were saying you were going to do this, and I was like, oh, I want to do this, and I especially want to join in for season 8, because my thoughts have totally changed watching it back and watching it in sequence versus when I watched it the first time. We'll get it. Anyways, forget it.
And that's what I mean. And we spent way more fucking time that I've ever did watching the show, doing this show now than I did, right? Watching it. So
Jay looks so confused. I can't, like, oh my God, we're so close to the end. I just like
go around it.
Yeah, you guys, like, I have no fucking idea what you're talking. You made
sorry. Okay, we'll move on.
Trying to talk without trying to talk.
Okay, episode. Let's just go through the episode.
Guessing. Okay, now you're making me think Daenerys gonna kill John by the end.
A madman or a king, he yells out. John turns around to look at Daenerys, who gives him that look and raises her glass. However, after John returns, her smile and turns back to the conversations, Daenerys becomes more and more downcast as she looks around the hall at the groups of people. First to Tyrion, Brienne, Pod, and Jaime playing their drinking game, and then to John, Tormund, Davos, who are joined by some wildlings. Varys notices Daenerys' mood and isolation in this moment, quietly becoming concerned. Daenerys gets up to leave the hall. So yeah, big scene. This is actually, like, you may think it's just some throwaway fucking scene, but it's like, you know, this is a big scene, I think, like, just again, because of the way, like, her kind of, you know, seeing how everything's going right now, right? Like, yeah.
Well, I mean, just with her looks and stuff like that, it says a lot, right?
Tyrion, Jaime, Brienne, and Pod continue their drinking game. Brienne correctly guesses that Tyrion was married to someone else before his forced marriage to Sansa. She takes another guess that Tyrion is drinking wine but prefers ale. Tyrion yells no, and Brienne must take another drink. Brienne and Jaime exchange smiles, and Tyrion, now very drunk, tells Brienne, "You're a virgin." Brienne's smile fades, and Pod takes a drink.
You're supposed to ask a question, aren't you? Not just tell her.
Tyrion drunkenly guesses that Brienne has never slept with anyone. Brienne doesn't answer, gets up, and says she must relieve herself. Embarrassing.
No, but, I mean, she kind of gave a look to Jaime.
That was the Drake. Embarrassing.
Well, she was kind of staring. She was kind of staring at Jaime, right? And that's when he noticed. He's like, "You're a virgin."
Yeah, like he just came to
he was almost
to
like
the
lusting.
realization. Yeah.
Like, oh wow. Is he
Yeah.
drinking?
I just okay. Let's
It's really
continue.
not. It's really not, though. Like, it's not a big deal, but it was just one of those things where, like, obviously you're going to be embarrassed amongst all these people if someone just throws that out there.
I mean, it's a drinking
right?
game.
Like,
What did
it's
you expect?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, a lot of shit happens with drinking. There's a lot of stuff
What?
that's not
Wait, moving on. You're good. Is it his comments? All right, moving on.
No, I have thoughts on this whole storyline, like the way this storyline goes through. I have comments.
Okay, I was like, what did we say?
We'll get to the mount. We'll climb the mountain when we get there.
Yeah, there you go.
Boom.
Tormund drunkenly propositions Brienne, who he's smitten for. Unlike Southern knights, he respects a warrior woman, but is rebuffed by her and the intervention of Jaime. Comically heartbroken, Tormund commiserates with Sandor, but soon northern serving girls start hitting on Tormund, an impressive hero of the battle, and they leave with 2 girls on both arms there. One girl on each arm.
Yeah.
Sorry, one girl on each arm.
And then the other one still tried to go.
Oh yeah, with Sandor. You're right. You're right. Yeah.
Clegane. You want to call him Sandor? I'm gonna call him Clegane. I'll fuck you right up.
And I'll call him the Hound.
There you go. Sandor, however, stays drinking alone, shooing away another serving girl who seems surprisingly interested in him. Seeing him, Sansa comes to his table to sit with them. The last time they spoke was the Battle of the Blackwater. He offered to try to sneak her out of the city as he abandoned his post, but she felt it was too risky and declined. He says he had heard that she was taken by Littlefinger. After that, Sandor comments that she was broken and rough, marrying Ramsay Bolton, who raped and imprisoned her. Sansa says that without Littlefinger and the rest, she'd have just stayed a little bird her whole life, but the abuse she suffered from Ramsay made her strong. He asked how she had Ramsay executed, and she said she killed him with hounds. He laughs as he is commonly nicknamed the Hound. There you go. Yeah, there you go.
A good one
there you go.
That was a good scene.
But yeah, he can, like he was nice by saying that he wasn't, that none of it would have happened if he would have just left with her. But
right,
I mean, who's to say, right?
Also, another note that I've made here is because it's happened more than once at this point. Is like the Hound is just not interested in sex. It seems like he's not like
it's not all up here, man.
Of course not. He's damaged individual, but like there's even been other moments where like they had like Bronn. Remember Bronn? He had like a bunch of like a lot of the whorehouse people with him in that one scene prior to one of the battles. And he's like, hey, why don't you grab one of these girls? And he was like, no. He's like, I'm just going to drink. And he's just never interested in it. It seems like, I don't know. Just like
maybe he's got a balls.
He represents the asexuals.
Yeah, I guess so.
What do we call him? No.
Yeah, no, that's what I mean. I guess he is. That's essentially
of this like woke time.
Right. I guess so. There you go. If we're going by today's standards, then yeah, exactly.
Well, I got a today's standard one in a second. Don't worry.
I wrote down here the Hound reminds her that he could have saved her from all the heartache, but she wouldn't have grown. She wouldn't have grown as a result. Essentially,
she wouldn't have grown up. Yeah. I mean, she did a lot of growing.
Yeah, that was a good scene. I get that. It made a lot of sense. Yeah.
But like put a cap on that storyline.
Slipping out of the hall, Gendry finds Arya practicing archery alone in the stables. He happily announces to her that he is no longer a bastard, but has been officially made Gendry Baratheon and the new Lord of Storm's End by Daenerys. She is very happy for him, but then he says that he doesn't know how to be a lord, and it won't mean anything to him if she isn't by his side. He then gets down on one knee and begs her to marry him and becomes the new Lady of Storm's End. Arya is deeply moved and pulls him in for a passionate kiss, but saddened, she says that while he deserves a wonderful wife, she doesn't think she'll ever be a proper lady at a court or ever get married. Gendry is crestfallen. Okay.
No, but she said she's never been a lady, and
she hasn't. She's never strived to be.
Yeah, she never had. So
heartbroken.
I mean, listen.
He had balls at the time. He had a few drinks, and he
was. Listen.
It's all, yeah.
I'm glad he tried to do the right thing. That he felt that this is something that he thought that given his new status and everything like that, he was just swept up, I think, in the moment, and obviously because of their hookup that they had prior to the battle. But it was very true to form that she was just like, no, I'm sorry. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it makes sense. I felt bad for the guy, but like, at least he tried to do right by what he thought was right by her by offering her a hand in marriage, right?
But I also think he just likes her. Like, I think it's just at the end of the day, he just really, they like each other. Like, it's just.
I know, and they always have, but like, you know, I get why she said no. Like, it makes total sense that she would refuse his offer.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
it's not her character to.
No, it's not her. Yeah. It's not her.
Be married and be a lady. It's not her character at all.
But I do feel bad because like she could easily allow herself that happiness. She clearly, like, she does pause for a moment and then she's just like, no, like, he's like, I'm sorry. Like, but like she, you know, I think she considers it. I think there's a quick consideration there in her head, but she ultimately is just not interested. Right. So.
I think like last episode, there's a lot of, again, rounds, full circle moments in this episode, this being one of them, because she tells Ned that she'll never be a lady. Like, she doesn't want to be a lady. So, you know, it's just like, this is her, it's true. This is her true character. Like, you know.
Yeah. Hours later, after the feast, Jaime Lannister shows up at Brienne's chamber in the castle. He starts undressing, and so does she, as she admits she's never slept with anyone before, and they have sex.
That was an easy way to put it, bro. Like, I mean, I thought you could have wrote a better. I thought it could have been like a better descriptive.
More passionate, you mean?
Yeah, I mean, you could have said how they were getting hot. And
this is all it says. I'm going by the synopsis. Well, what do you want? But go ahead. Why don't you go? Do you think it was a hot scene? Like, they don't really get to it all that much.
Well, I mean, you finally realize that, you know, I mean, she's not a virgin now after this scene.
Well, there was a whole, like, them joking around, oh, I've never slept with a knight before, right? Yeah. There's a little bit of, like, you know, foreplay type, like.
Well, I never slept with anybody before. Well, she never just said
He tries to get it going. Christina, thoughts? Is this where you had thoughts on this?
She's basically a.
You're reserving your thoughts.
Do we call that like what I would be then? You know,
I was like, finally, what's the proper when this moment happened, though.
What's the proper term for what she is? Sorry.
She's a knight.
No, she's a lady that likes ladies, right? I mean, that likes men. I always thought she was kind of, sort of, you know,
like a lesbian. No, I never got that vibe from her at all.
I don't know. Maybe because she was just a bigger woman.
No, she talked about how she was in love with Renly and stuff like that.
Yeah, but I thought that was maybe just
more respect type of thing. Yeah, okay. I mean,
but see, this okay.
They kind of do.
She had tried. I mean, she even told you the storyline about how she was like embarrassed because of the size of her as because she was a big, strong woman. Like, there was a whole thing about her being rejected by those guys, and they made a game out of it. Remember, she had some issues with body image shit like that. Don't we all? No, but that's what she was referring to previously. So that's a reason probably, and because she's also trying to play in the man's world as the knight, right? Like, that's what I mean. Like, that's so like,
just because I mean, there's other.
What opportunities does she have to hook up with anybody either, right? Like
no, like coming up to this point, I mean, she has been giving Jaime some weird looks and stuff like that.
What do you mean? They wanted to bang this whole fucking time. What do you mean?
I don't know. It was only one sided.
No, this was just.
I don't know. I feel.
Yeah, this is. Am I, Christina, anything, or you're reserving your thoughts?
I don't like this at all. I didn't like it when it happened. I didn't like. No, I liked that they respected each other. I liked that Jaime loved her.
You didn't like because I didn't like how it fucking ended, like this episode.
No, okay, period. But see, this is what I mean. It didn't have to be this way. Like, they respected each other the whole season, the whole series. Never mind season. Like, the whole series.
The hole in the hay. Is that what you're saying?
Like, they make it about that. Like, that's the end. That's how it goes down. Like, that is so. First of all, like.
And then she's left crying for him at the end. Yeah, I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying.
She's a knight. They respect each other as knights. Like, maybe they do have a love for each other, but why does it have to be this? Like, why does it have to be
saying they should have never.
No, I think it should have just been a mutual understanding. I love you, I respect you, but like we're not that people. We're not those people.
But they had all that. But you're right. The way it was all kind of.
Then why introduce a new storyline or why introduce a new something? This to me was just 100% audience pleasing. Nobody's seen sex in like 2 seasons. Nobody's minus Jon and Daenerys. Never mind. But nobody has seen like sex. Nobody has seen intimacy. Nobody has seen anything like that. And it's like all of a sudden you're gonna introduce it.
He's coming swinging this episode. No, it's another fucking good point. It's a good point.
They should have made this about Brienne and Tormund. Like it should have been about like her finally succumbing to him because he's been trying for.
Poor guy, I know. Eh? He's
been
I'm not against like these two personally hooking up. But I will agree with what you're saying is that he finds out during a fucking drinking game post this battle that she's a virgin, and that's when they choose for them to hook up, right? I think it is kind of bad. And I don't like the way it ended. And it does seem like a fucking waste of all that relationship that they built up amongst these two. Yeah.
Even though they're friends. I don't get it, that part of it.
Yeah.
I don't know if they get see each other again.
It is a lot to throw away. Here's the thing. If he stayed with her at the end of the day, at the end of this episode, and chose to stay with her and found a new life with her, that's one thing. But he chose not to at the end of this episode.
But why did he have to choose that? Like, why did he have to have another person to love? Like, he loves Cersei. That's clear. Why does it have to be about an intimate love? Why couldn't it just be a love between friends, a respect love? Like, why does it have to be an emotional?
Because she had body issues she thought of.
But who cares? Like she's always had body issues. She's always had because she said she loved Renly, like she respected Renly even though she knew who he was. So it's like if it's not in her character to like fall in love with someone and sleep with them.
You know what, to your point though, maybe that's why it makes even more sense at the end of this when he's like, I'm a piece of shit. And like, you know what I mean?
He was always a piece of shit, even to her. Like he was always a piece of shit. Like it's like that didn't need to happen.
But maybe that was him coming to that realization. He's like, I shouldn't have slept with you. Yeah, I'm a fucking piece of shit.
The respect that he had for her.
Right. Yeah, that's a good fucking point too, because things
alcohol
change.
Fucks you up. I mean, it make you do stupid things.
That is a good fucking point. That is a good fucking point. I totally agree with Christina what she's saying, but I also agree in the sense that maybe that's why he couldn't face her anymore at the end of this. I mean, we know why.
Respect for her?
No, because he lost it. Because also, like after. Sex changes things, obviously. I think, and like I think that like
respect for her, and he ruined it at that moment.
Yeah, he lost his respect by going about it the way that she did,
by doing
that he did, and he's like that's why he's like I'm a piece of garbage. I should have never slept with you. I think he regrets sleeping with her as well here, almost in a way though. I think that's like
when he leaves, because I mean he tells her that he's a piece of shit because.
He
did all that stupid shit for.
I think that's giving him too much credit, though. That's giving him
a woman. No, hold on, which was his sister. Okay, when he could have had somebody that he actually might have cared about, which was Brienne, and didn't realize until this fucking moment.
Yeah,
and he's already been a fucking asshole.
All good points, though. But I see where Christina's coming from.
Changed the person that he was.
You're making a good argument. I like what you're saying too, but like,
because sometimes it takes just a woman. Look what you did to Lewis. You changed him. Look at that.
He changed me. Excuse me. Let's get the story straight.
No, you guys are doing the dirty work.
No, listen. Let's say this. Get away from that because we got to move on, anyways. But that's all good points. No, this is what makes these episodes good. These are good conversations we're having. No, that's good. I will leave it at this. I loved this character until these episodes now, and I'll leave it at that.
I forgot you were ride or die for Mr. Golden Hand over there.
I was.
Imagine you could spank with that hand.
I was, but by the end of this episode and moving forward, I don't like this character anymore at this point, and that has not changed. That has not changed.
I mean, I don't know what's going on.
It hasn't ruined everything for me. I'm not saying anything new. I'm just saying this, even in this episode. Like his decision to leave, I'm just like, get the fuck out of here with that shit. Because here's the thing, and I heard someone else say this actually, talking about, this is not my own thought. And when he said this, I'm like, that's very true. He will not let himself be happy, this character. He ever since that whole shit that he did, he cannot get out of his own fucking way. The Kingslayer shit or everything else in his life, he will not allow himself any happiness. So if you think about that,
he doesn't deserve it.
Why though?
Exactly. He doesn't think he deserves it. He doesn't fucking think he deserves it. And that is why it's a fucking tragic ass fucking character. And it's a stupid ass fucking, like, whatever direction that this guy goes in towards the end of these last couple of episodes. It's terrible. Like but that is one point that I heard someone else make about this character. I'm like, I was like, that they're right.
Some people do feel that way.
That's what I mean. He does not want to allow himself, and I really don't think he thinks that he can be. He won't allow himself that. I don't know. I think it's when that person said that. When I heard this comment, I think it was like on a podcast or something. I also
think he probably also in his head thinks he's still having a kid with fucking what's her face.
I don't know. Anyways, okay, we got to move on though. But good points all around. Good points all around. But I hate this. I hate this. Not for the same reasons that Christina hates it. See, that's what's interesting about it. I don't hate it for the same reason she hates it, but I also hate what they do with him in this whole thing with Brienne and him, right? So after I just cried fucking 2 episodes ago when he made her a knight, and now I'm just like, what are you doing, bud? Like, you sleep with her, then you're like, I'm out of here.
You're ride or die. That's it. He's gone.
What are you doing? What are you doing?
Typical man.
What are you doing here? Well, okay. All right. Daenerys Targaryen. That's why this scene only had 2 lines, Jay. Remember, you're like, there's no more description there. This is why even the person doing the synopsis is like, and then they have sex. Moving on.
Yeah, I can't get into this whole thing. If I start giving my opinions, he's gonna say there'll be another long.
Daenerys Targaryen then arrives at Jon Snow's bedchamber. He says that he regrets that Jorah died, but if he would have chosen a way to die, he would have chosen to die defending her. She observes that Jorah did love her, but not the way that she loves him. The two of them proceed to passionately kiss and are on their way to having sex, starting to undress, but Jon stops himself. Daenerys laments she wishes Jon never told her the truth about his parentage. If I didn't know, I'd be happy right now. I try to forget. Tonight I did for a while, and then I saw them gathered around you. I saw the way they looked at you. I know that look. So many people have looked at me that way, but never here, never on this side of the sea. Jon replies that he told her he doesn't want the throne, but Daenerys argues it doesn't matter what Jon wants. He didn't want to be king in the north either, but people will press his claim and take what is hers. Jon gets down on one knee in front of Daenerys and insists, I'll refuse. You are my queen. I don't know what else I can say. Daenerys tells him he can say nothing, never tell anyone who he really is. She holds his hand as she says she wants it to be the way it was between them. Jon clasps her hand in his and says he must tell Sansa and Arya because they are still his family. Daenerys is certain Sansa will press Jon's claim over hers. Jon says Sansa won't do that, but Daenerys warns him that Sansa isn't the same girl he grew up with. Jon believes he owes Sansa and Arya the truth, but Daenerys begs for him not to tell them, saying the truth will destroy Jon and Daenerys. Jon insists it won't. You are my queen. Nothing will change that. And they are my family. We can live together. Daenerys tells him we can. I just told you how. Listen, she drew a line in the sand. She drew a line in the fucking sand here, man. Yeah, I mean, is she being a bit selfish about certain aspects of how this all played out? Possibly. I don't know, but
I think to her point, it's just like, if you don't care, then why is it anybody else's business? And I agree with her with this, because if it's nobody else's business, if he has no desire to claim the throne, what good is it going to be to talk about his parentage in this moment? Like, it does nobody a service. Yes, Jay, with his hand up.
All this time to find out about his real parentage, really, because he's been a bastard ever since. So what do you mean it makes no sense? It does make sense about he wants to probably be able to talk about it, with everybody, let everybody know, but hopefully everybody will trust him as the honest person that he's always been.
No, but this is the problem with Jon, is like, he's honest to a fault. And I mean, like, most of the time it works out, but like in this moment, what good is it going to do? Like for anybody, it's like, if he really wanted claim to the throne, then fine, go ahead, talk about it. But at the end of the day, it's like, if he truly loves Daenerys, if he wants to see her succeed, what good is, like, why does he have to tell anybody? Why does he have to tell his family? Why does he have to tell Sansa and Arya? And Bran already knows, but like, why does he have to say it to them? Why?
He doesn't want to be a bastard.
I get that, but what I don't like is how she seems to be leveraging their relationship with one another to get what she wants. I don't think that's very fair either, right? I mean, like, it's kind of like, you know, she's kind of like, you know, I don't like how she's kind of, I get where she's coming from. I know why she's afraid of losing what she's fought for this whole time, but I just also don't think that's fair for her to kind of like, you know, she's putting all their feelings for each other involved in this.
She has no choice. We just talked about this. She's a woman. She has to leverage like her relationship with him. Well, number one, because she loves him. So now it's like a moot point. Like she loves him. So she wants to make it work for everybody, including herself. But she's also a woman. And in this time, it's like he's the rightful heir in the eyes of everybody in Westeros. Like, he is the son of like the oldest Targaryen son. The next in line after the Mad King was Rhaegar, and he is Rhaegar's son. So it's like, of course he would be the next heir.
Yeah.
And that fact alone, like, it just moots Daenerys's point. Her entire army was obliterated in this like Winterfell battle. She doesn't have any allies on this side of the sea, and she said it multiple times. And it's like, he's loved by everybody. It would just be such a natural,
but
like,
if she trusts him, that he's still gonna be okay. Like, I mean, everything will be okay.
But it wouldn't matter. That's the point. Is it's like, in this day and age, it wouldn't matter.
I'm not denying how it's gonna play out. That is clear, and she is right in saying that. Right. I'm just,
so that's why she was so aggressive. And I think she's also like, you know, she's also asserting herself, because if you remember, this is how she was all seasons prior to this one.
Yes, I know.
Right. She was very much like, no, it's my choice. Too bad.
Unfortunately, though, because of everything now that she's got going on with this guy, it puts them in a fucking awkward ass position. And I understand that's why, at least I'm speaking from his perspective, I guess, as a man seeing it, that he's like, what else you want me to fucking do? Like, I said my allegiance is to you. I've told them I have no interest in this. Like, and it's true. No matter what he can fucking do, they will still gravitate and give him by right, by blood, by name, and the fact that he's a man, the fucking king, over her. I get why she's like concerned about this, and she's not wrong in being concerned. There isn't much they can do about this, and I'm not going to say for her to pick love over the throne, but that's a choice that she has to make if that's really what she wants to go. That's the road.
Use it against, like, you know.
But he can do one thing. The one thing he can do that's going to matter is not tell anybody.
Yes, but that's already out of his hands too. It's already done, right? Like, I mean, like, in a way.
Well, yes and no. I mean, Sam is the only one who knows, and Bran. But Bran is out to lunch, so who the hell is really gonna, like, you know, talk to him about it? And he's not gonna say anything unless asked or it's revealed or something. And I think if Jon really swore Sam to secrecy, I think Sam would keep the secret, because he's not trying to rock the boat either.
The family aspect makes it messy too, though. It's a messy fucking situation, no matter.
Oh yeah, let's forget about the incest.
Right? So, anyways, no, good point though. Good point. The next day, Daenerys, Jon, and the remaining leaders hold a war council. Oh, no, then there's a scene quickly of Jaime sitting distressed in bed. Clearly, this is where he gets this fucking idea, I guess, after the post-coital, I have to run away, whatever the fuck that is. But anyways, the next day, Daenerys, Jon, which men do, but this was like, I'm going to flee this whole fucking entire region. I'm safe over here, but I'm out of here.
He moved like countries, like, to get away from the situation. Like, that's bold.
Now he's got to tell everybody he slept with a knight.
Yeah. The next day, Daenerys, Jon, and their remaining leaders hold a war council around a large map of Westeros. Is this where the cup comes into play?
No, this was prior to. Like, this was
apart from the destruction of most of the Dothraki, Grey Worm says that about half of the Unsullied were killed in the battle. Jon says that about half of the Northern Vale armies were destroyed as well. Varys updates them on the situation in the south using map markers. The Golden Company has just arrived in King's Landing, delivered by Euron Greyjoy's fleet, reinforcing Cersei Lannister's position. Daenerys says that they must attack King's Landing and rip out Cersei root and stem. Tyrion warns her that a direct assault in King's Landing would result in so many civilian casualties that it would make the small folk cater, and they must once again try to encircle Cersei, starving out the city until the commoners revolt against her, as they did against Joffrey not too long ago. Varys points out that Daenerys is gaining allies in other places as well. The new Prince of Dorne is formally declared for her and against Cersei, while they have received news that Yara Greyjoy has successfully retaken the Iron Islands themselves, while her uncle Euron's fleet has been away in the east. Yeah, I mean, it's good that they touched on these things because these are storylines that they kind of abandoned. But yeah, I mean, I'm glad that they included that in this conversation. Daenerys insists that they must attack Cersei, as the only reason she is considered a queen at all is because she physically controls the greatest symbol of power, the Iron Throne itself. They must take the capital city in order to defeat Cersei, as without it, she is nothing. Any thoughts on this? Makes a lot of sense, everything that's being said here, right?
Yeah.
Sansa counters that they are not in a strong position to immediately mount a new full-scale offensive. The men we have left are exhausted. Many of them are wounded. They'll fight better if they have time to rest and recuperate. When Daenerys asks how much time Sansa says she needs to have to talk to the officers first, Daenerys tells her, I came north to fight alongside you at great cost to my armies and myself. Now that the time has come to reciprocate, you want to postpone. But Sansa reminds Daenerys that this is the same for both the northern armies and for Daenerys' Unsullied. Daenerys tells Sansa that the longer she waits, the more time Cersei has to gather new strength and new allies, just as she recruited Euron and the Golden Company. Jon interjects that the North will honor its allegiance to Queen Daenerys, who he has bent the knee to, and they will just have to leave the badly wounded back home and march south with a smaller army. At this, Sansa and Arya exchange a look. It is decided that Jon and Davos will lead all of the surviving Northern Vale forces and the bulk of the surviving Dothraki Unsullied forces south down the King's Road, while a smaller force of Unsullied return via ship from White Harbor to Dragonstone Island, along with Daenerys and her 2 remaining dragons. From Dragonstone, just across Blackwater Bay from King's Landing, Daenerys can blockade Cersei by sea and ultimately stage a final attack. Brienne of Tarth wishes to stay at Winterfell to defend the Stark sisters, and Jaime Lannister will stay with her as well. Daenerys declares to the War Council that this will be the last war that they have to fight in the Seven Kingdoms, adding all of them. Daenerys and Sansa exchange a tense look. Daenerys and her advisors leave, but Arya asks Jon for a word in private. Any thoughts on this? What happened here? A lot of shit, this is a lot of them really lining everything up for the final, final shit here in the show battles here. I wrote down here, surprising rise to power for Sansa over this last fucking season. All of a sudden, she has a voice in the boardroom here of the war. And I know who she is, and I know that she's there and she's important to everything going on. It's just, it really just seems like it's happened over a fast period of time because of the way that the time is moving in these last couple of seasons, right?
Yeah, I think she was gaining like power as Jon, like, after he was declared king of the North, he had to step away to go, on his we need to fight the Night King, whatever. So she stepped in, and I think she's just maintaining that.
Yeah, and a lot of time had passed between then, even though it didn't feel like it in the episodes, like because it went from one episode to the next. He went and he was back all of a sudden, but like a lot of time had passed, obviously.
Yeah,
travel and everything else, right? We just
I think she's also asserting herself too, because she assumes he's going to go south with Daenerys because they're in love.
Right.
And she's like, well, if he's gone, then who's going to take over? And it's me. So she's kind of just, putting herself in that power position.
Right. In the Godswood, the 4 surviving Stark children gather in private. Jon is irritated with his sisters. You'd understand we'd all be dead if not for her. We'd be corpses marching down to King's Landing. Sansa replies that Arya is the one who killed the Night King, but Jon reminds Sansa that Daenerys' men gave their lives to fight the undead. Sansa says she won't forget, but this doesn't mean she wants to bend the knee to Daenerys. Jon says he pledged allegiance to her. Arya says that she respects Jon's decision. He did the right thing, but she doesn't trust Daenerys. Jon tells Arya she doesn't know Daenerys yet, but Arya insists she'll never know Daenerys. She's not one of us. Jon replies, if you only trust the people you grew up with, you won't make any allies. But Arya says she doesn't need allies. They're family. She stresses that they are the last of the Starks, the last of Ned Stark's children, and they must remain loyal to each other. Weighed down by the truth, Jon grimly says that he has never been a Stark. Sansa urges Jon that he is as much Ned Stark's child as they are, while Arya lovingly insists that she is her brother, not a bastard brother or a half-brother to her. She loves him completely. Unable to bear the lie, Jon looks at Bran, who quietly says that it's Jon's choice to tell them. Jon urgently makes both girls truly swear before the weirwood heart tree that they will never tell anyone else this secret. Sansa and Arya swear, and then at a loss for words, Jon gives Bran permission to tell them. Any thoughts on this? Thoughts?
Well, I'm happy that
we just...
vice versa. They switch permission.
You move the mic closer to your mouth.
They switch permission.
Thank you.
No, because I was over here and I was reading.
Move the mic closer to your mouth.
If I pull it anymore, it's
there
gonna come off.
So then move towards it. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm glad that they gave each other permission to tell each other the same story. You see, we don't even know who told the story. Did Bran tell it, or did Jon tell it to them?
Bran told them, but like this goes back to my point. Like they didn't need to know. They didn't need to know. Like there's no reason why they needed to know. Anyways,
then it's like a whole scene of them all conspiring in secret against these guys now. Like all of a sudden, right? It becomes like a whole thing where like, yes, they're family, but they're having their family meeting here. He tells I will say to what the point you're making, it is brought up later on that obviously this is what that she was afraid of, that everyone was going to go and tell secrets to one another about this, and it was going to get out of hand, right? And that this whole thing that they're fighting against would fucking go up in flames, right? Fighting for of her being on the Iron Throne, right? So yeah. Later that night, the Lannister brothers are drinking at a local inn of the winter town outside the castle. Jaime has told Tyrion of his new relationship with Brienne, and the very drunk Tyrion says he's happy, and now he can finally be the one mocking a brother for being with a taller woman. Suddenly, Bronn bursts through the front door, pointing Joffrey's crossbow at them. Bronn tells them that Cersei hired him to assassinate both of them. Tyrion, too drunk to care, does not take Bronn seriously, as if he was going to kill him, he would have done it without announcing it, only for Bronn to punch him in the nose so hard he nearly breaks it. Bronn sits down at the table, still pointing the crossbow at them, and says he indeed would have just killed them already if that was his only option. Bronn says when he realized Cersei probably wouldn't win this, when he realized she wouldn't win the war, when he saw for himself what Daenerys' dragons can do, and he would prefer to bet on the winning side. This is very broad, by the way. This is all within, like, very character.
Guy.
Yeah, I love this guy.
Yeah. He straight up fucking came to them. Is that
right? Well, while we're all questioning whether or not like these characters' motivations and like what they've decided to do is on brand, this is totally on brand still for this guy.
Yeah, I mean, that's what he wants, man.
Right. That's why he's great.
He's supposed to get richer.
Tyrion says he realizes Bronn is referring to the offer he made him when he first entered his service, and if anyone ever offered to bribe Bronn to kill him, Tyrion would double it. Bronn says that Cersei offered him the rule of no less a castle than River Run as a reward, and asks Tyrion what double River Run is. Tyrion casually suggests Highgarden itself. Jaime says that no cutthroat like Bronn would ever be accepted as the Lord of Highgarden, but Bronn scoffs that all of the great houses started out with some cutthroat or another managed to seize some land and castles. He's right. After which their sons called themselves lords and their grandsons called themselves kings. Tyrion assures Bronn he will be granted Highgarden, and he leaves, promising that if Tyrion doesn't hold up his end of the bargain, the next time Bronn will simply come back and shoot first with no more warning or negotiation. After he leaves, Jaime asks if they're seriously going to give up Bronn Highgarden, to which Tyrion only says he won't worry about it for now, as that assumes they will all survive the final war against Cersei. I like how he's like, "Don't die on me," like as he leaves.
I'll come find you. Don't die on me.
Oh man. And this is the scene where he says how he hasn't been with a woman in years, like JT I wrote here.
Yeah.
Oh, that's mean.
What it was like down there. So was I. I was hoping that he was going to explain it, but he never did.
Oh my god.
Well, it has been years since he's been to a brothel.
Yeah, I like how he says they cheers to climbing mountains, though. To climbing mountains.
That's a great cheers.
It is a good cheers, yeah. All right. Sometime later.
Have you ever been with a tall woman?
Me?
Either of you. I know Christine's tall.
I mean, she's my height. Not taller than me. No, I don't think so.
I can't remember.
No, I don't think so. No.
Hmm.
Sometime later, Sandor Clegane rides.
Sex with one, but I've never been with one.
That's what I mean. Oh my God, JT.
And, you know,
sometime later, Sandor Clegane rides away from Winterfell down the King's Road, and he soon realizes that he's being followed by Arya Stark, who rides up to his side on her horse. He says that he still has unfinished business in the south. His brother Gregor Clegane, and Arya only says that she does too, killing Cersei. Sandor says he doesn't think he'll be coming back to Winterfell, and Arya says she doesn't think she'll return either. So yeah, they're off to their impending doom here.
Off to the races.
Sansa stands on the castle walls, still in shock from the revelation of Jon's parentage. She gazes at Daenerys' dragons flying in the distance, visibly teary-eyed. Sansa is only half aware of Tyrion as he approaches her. Still numb, Sansa asks why her, but Tyrion insists that Daenerys will be a good queen, and if not, Jon Snow will still be Warden of the North under her, which is a good arrangement for the Starks. With Jon in the capital, you'll be the true power of the North. I feel much better about the future if I left here today believing that you and Daenerys were allies. Sansa wonders what Tyrion is worried about as their armies are going down south and Daenerys still has her dragons. Tyrion says Sansa doesn't have to be her friend, but doesn't see the need to provoke Daenerys, which Sansa accuses that he's afraid of her. Tyrion can only respond that all capable leaders must inspire some fear in their followers. As anxious, Sansa says she doesn't want Jon to go to King's Landing because the men of her family don't do well there. Her father, grandfather, and uncle were all killed in the capital. Tyrion weakly says he believes in her, but with a pained look, Sansa then asks him what he'd say if there was someone else, someone better. So there you go. Yeah.
It's already begun.
Yeah. I don't know. I kind of wrote here just as a question. Is Sansa just hating? Does she really have a good reason not to like this woman?
Yeah.
She's weary of her.
But she hasn't really given her a chance either. And she has shown up for them. Right?
True. Yeah, true.
That was Arya's choice, a comment in their conversation. She understood how everything came to be, and she's like, she did help us out. Like, she even pointed that out. She was the only one that felt that way, but she also said, I still don't trust her, which is fine. You don't have to trust somebody.
She freed a bunch of slaves to get killed.
Right.
I mean, she didn't do anything special.
I think Sansa's also just like power tripping a little bit. So
I think a little bit. I think that's a lot of people's comment about her at this point in the show, right? But anyways, I think some of it's justified. I get it, but
no one wants to marry her.
In the castle courtyard, Jon Snow is getting ready to leave south with the army, while Tormund and Sam come to say goodbye. Tormund says he is also leaving, returning north with his people. The surviving free folk will travel to Castle Black. Then after the winter snows have cleared, they will return to the lands beyond the wall. Jon says that the free folk are welcome in the north, but Tormund says that the lands north of the wall are their home. When Jon says this is farewell, Tormund says, you never know. You've got the north in you, the real north. They hug goodbye. Jon's direwolf ghost is also present. He was badly wounded in the battle, having lost his right ear, but managed to survive. And
I didn't even notice he had no ear. What the fuck? I noticed he had blood on him.
And is up and about. Jon tells Tormund to take Ghost with them. A direwolf has no place in the southern kingdoms and would be happier in the northern forests where other direwolves still live. Gilly then says goodbye to Jon with a hug and realizes that she is pregnant, and he realizes she's pregnant again, now with Sam's child. She says that if it's a boy, she hopes to name it Jon, having no way of knowing all the issues this raises, as it isn't his real birth name. Jon sadly responds that he hopes it's a girl without further explanation. Jon and Sam share a log hug and tell each other they were the best friends they ever had. Jon then rides out of the castle as Tormund, Ghost, Sam, and Gilly look on, and possibly their stories end here as they have no other reason to be involved at this point, right? They're not fighting for anything anymore. Their battles are won. And sad to see them go in this moment, though. I gotta say, Tormund, Sam, great characters.
Yeah, hopefully they have spinoffs.
There you go.
No, I'm just saying it was a nice little talk between Tormund and Jon there.
Above deck on the same ship, Missandei and Grey Worm hold hands as Dragonstone Island comes into view. As Daenerys' fleet sails south, Tyrion meets with Varys in a chamber below decks, having just repeated what Sansa told him. Jon Snow is really the secret, legitimate son of Daenerys' older brother, Rhaegar Targaryen, and Lyanna Stark, and thus the true rightful heir to the Iron Throne. Tyrion wonders aloud at how the past 20-odd years of wars, from Robert's Rebellion to the War of the Five Kings, all in one way or another reverberated from Lyanna choosing Rhaegar instead of Robert Baratheon. They wonder what would happen if the truth came out. Varys acknowledges that the North would obviously switch support to Jon as the rightful heir, and Sansa would make sure that the Vale would as well, instantly losing Daenerys 2 of the 7 kingdoms. Tyrion asks why they don't pursue the easy solution, a marriage alliance. Varys rebukes that Daenerys is Jon's aunt. Tyrion counters by pointing out that the incestuous marriages never deterred a Targaryen before. It's true, but Varys insists that Jon grew up in the North and he would never agree to it. Varys says that he is starting to worry about Daenerys' state of mind with her growing isolation.
Well, it's funny because Tyrion asks how many people know about it, right? And they said like 10 already with those,
which is too fucking many. He says that. He's like, yeah, it's already too many.
Now.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, this is information.
That's right. He's not wrong. You think the keeper of secrets, right? The whisper fucking whatever his name is, he does, that's true. He's right.
The way I don't know why he didn't come out the words, the whisper, the secret of
whatever it's called, whatever his name is, the king of, not king of whispers. What's his name again? Christina? Varys.
Oh,
the something of whispers or something, isn't it? I forgot. See,
I don't even remember.
Yeah, he's the man of whispers or whatever it's called.
The lady of whispers.
Yeah.
Oh my god, it's right there on the tip of my tongue, and I can't think of it. I'm gonna look it up.
I'm looking at what I wrote down for this scene. I wrote "dumb, selfish bitch" on this
one. Oh, it's the Lord of Whispers.
Okay, it is Lord. Yeah, Lord of Whispers. Yeah, I don't know why. I wrote
when you said it, I was like, that sounds familiar. Like, sounds accurate, but.
Daenerys soars over the fleet on Drogon, accompanied by Rhaegal. Daenerys is happy to catch sight of her birthplace, but her joy turns to horror as a gigantic scorpion bolt appears out of nowhere, burying itself deep in Rhaegal's chest. Euron Greyjoy's fleet is mounting a surprise attack. His ship's now equipped with huge ballistas, upgraded versions of Qyburn's scorpion launcher that previously wounded Drogon. These new weapons are more numerous and much more powerful, punching deep through Rhaegal's iron-hard scales. Their first bolt in his chest is soon followed by a second to his wing. The injured dragon's blood-curdling roar of agony is silenced when a third bolt impales him through the throat. This was brutal. Yeah. Overwhelmed by shock and blood loss, Rhaegal plunges into the sea where he sinks beneath the surface of the water and drowns. Distraught and enraged, Daenerys tries to make an attack run with Drogon on Euron's ship, but all the scorpions start raining bolts at her, and she barely manages to turn away and escape with her life. This was one of the many shocking deaths in Game of Thrones, as far as I'm concerned. As far as I'm concerned, honestly, I did not see this coming. It wasn't even a built-up scene. It was just like, yep, flying through the air, boom, like, you know what I mean? Like, it was just like,
well, we knew where they were going there, right? But
but flying, right? Still, this was pretty honest.
Yeah, this came out of nowhere. I think I even shrieked the first time it happened. Yeah, I think I watched it and I was like, I shrieked because I was like, oh my god.
I like that they left her with only one, though, at this point. It kind of really levels the playing field in terms of her only having one fucking dragon left in this moment. And also, like, you know, I did write down they probably should have been expecting that a little bit more or something happening. But again, it just came out of nowhere, totally blindsided by it, even as a viewer. I thought it was really well done in that sense. Like, because most of these other big surprising moments, they're like at least in the midst of us building to some fucking crazy thing. This was just like on the way.
Yeah, like, now that you say that, I didn't even think about this, but it's like, you know, like Tyrion spent a lot of his like adulthood like in the capital knowing, and he studied the Targaryens and dragons, because he even said this in earlier seasons. He like would go down into the into the whatever, like the tombs under the castle where all the dragon skulls were and stuff, and so he did a lot of research and read about, like, he would have known that King's Landing had like dragon crossbows. So like, why didn't he think about this as
kind of a big plot hole, actually, if you think about it? It is.
Yeah, I never thought about it, but it's just like, yeah, like, why didn't he think about this?
I mean, they did attribute the fact that they now had more powerful scorpion bolts to Qyburn.
But even just like an idea, like, hey, Daenerys, be careful because you know, they have these weapons.
Yeah, she may have shouldn't have been flying so fucking freely over the sea like that, right?
Yeah, maybe let the fleets go ahead and then she kind of follows, right?
Yeah, no, it kind of sucks, but yeah,
she's joyriding.
It was sad.
Euron ships then target their ballista Daenerys' fleet, smashing them to splinters. Grey Worm urges Missandei to flee to safety by taking the skiff to shore, but they are soon overwhelmed and separated in the chaos. There's a great Tyrion scene running away as he barely manages to dodge ballista bolts on the ship's deck. He could have been done in at this point, right? He only manages to survive by jumping overboard, where he's hit in the head and passes out. Sometime later, the survivors of the destroyed fleet drag their way onto the nearby shore of Dragonstone, including Tyrion and Varys. Grey Worm stands ashore only to realize in horror that Missandei isn't with them. Yeah, so... In King's Landing, Cersei gloats with Euron over their victory. From the Red Keep, Cersei watches the city gates as thousands of refugees flood into the city. Qyburn acknowledges that Cersei's true intention is proceeding as planned. Thousands of commoners are coming into the city to seek protection behind its walls from Daenerys' army, when in truth, Cersei wants them there as human shields. She knows that Daenerys doesn't want to be seen as a tyrant, and the risk of heavy civilian casualties would deter her from making a direct assault. Cersei feels that the Northern and Targaryen armies are so exhausted after fighting the White Walkers that she can regain the upper hand, gaining strength by the day with new allies such as the Golden Company, who help crew Euron's ships in the attack. Cersei proudly declares that the Lion of Lannister will rule the land, while the Kraken of Greyjoy rules the sea, and their child shall rule it all. As a surprise, Euron looks to Qyburn, who nods in acknowledgement that Cersei is pregnant. Euron presumes with his child. Cersei then turns to Missandei, taken captive by Euron in the attack, and brought her before her in chains, and sarcastically gloats that Daenerys is the breaker of chains indeed. Any thoughts on this?
That was shocking the first time I saw that too. That was like, oh my God, what are they going to do with this now? You know, like this scene was like, oh no, like.
Yeah, that they have Missandei, you mean? Like that?
Yeah, yeah.
Jay?
I mean, you gotta clear up the field, man. You gotta clean everything up. All these unfinished stories that never really transpired to anything.
At Dragonstone, the furious and bereaved Daenerys meets with her remaining advisors in the chamber of the painted table. This is where the cup is then.
No, okay. The cup, you know, when like a Tormund is talking about Jon and all of his like lovely attributes and
oh, like we already passed that part. You're saying it was in the bar part, like when they're drinking?
In the beginning, like this was like 10 minutes into the episode.
Daenerys is looking on and watching everybody.
So that's where it was in the hall when they're celebrating in Winterfell.
Yes.
Oh, okay. No, you forgot to mention it. I thought you were gonna bring it up, but
I was too caught up in the like.
You're very passionate about other conversations. Fair enough. Yeah. Okay. Grey Worm grimly says that they should storm the capital city at once. Varys says this is a mistake, as Cersei has not kept it a secret from them that she has swelled the city with refugees to use as human shields. He pleads that trying to remove Cersei's tyranny like this would itself be an act of tyranny and turn the people of Westeros against her. Daenerys says she knows her purpose in this world to remove tyrants, and she'll tear out Cersei's root and stem. Tyrion agrees with Varys and insists that they must offer Cersei the option to flee Westeros with her life. Ignorant that Ned Stark once offered Cersei the same option, but she is convinced that either you win or you die with no middle ground. So there you go. That's worth noting because that's something that happened, right? Daenerys, barely restraining her tears and her rage, nonetheless relents, not because she thinks Cersei will ever surrender, but because she would look bad if she didn't at least go through the motions of offering it to her. And that way she feels everyone will know that Cersei is the one to blame when Daenerys brings the sky crashing down on King's Landing. Tyrion and Varys offer no military option. She has no choice here. I agree with everything that fucking happens with her having to attack. It really fucking sucks because she really, making that decision whether or not she actually goes ahead with it is a big one, right? But she has no, I think I agree with her way about like thoughts on maybe attacking her this way because but she is playing into what Cersei wants. Right? Like, so it's hard. I don't know what you fucking do. This is a fucking shitty situation, but she can't hold back from attacking her at this point. She has to do something, right? Like, she has to do something. I know what they're offering up is a smarter move, but I don't know. We'll get to that when we get to that. Later, Tyrion and Varys meet alone in the throne room. Varys outright questions if Daenerys is fit to rule, and if perhaps Jon Snow would make a better monarch. He's more temperate, appealing, and also a man, which to many lords in Westeros makes him an inherently better candidate, even ignoring that by simple birth order, he outranks Daenerys. Tyrion weakly tries to argue that Daenerys has to be strong and instill fear on her enemies. Varys says that he will always act in the interest of the people as a whole, and thousands of innocents will die if Daenerys tries to attack Cersei now. Tyrion points out that if he thinks Daenerys will exceed if Jon says he wants to sit the Iron Throne instead of her, but Varys silently shoots him a look, obviously implying that he means that they should,
because cocks are important,
assassinate Daenerys if she chooses to attack King's Landing. Horrified, Tyrion can only mutter that Daenerys will make the right choice. I respect Varys's claim to the realm here, as you know, he's even willing to go as so far to be like, I don't believe in this person anymore, this decision. I'm ready to fucking do something about it. I respect him for that, honestly. You know, I don't think a cock is a qualification. I'm sure you'd agree, is what he says to it.
They both have a choice to make. That.
What do you guys think? What do you think? What do you think?
I'd like to see where they go.
Do you agree with Varys? Or do you agree with Tyrion here?
We both have a point.
Right.
Whether or not any of them are right, we're still yet to see. But I mean, they both have a point, and they Varys they do have to make a choice of who they're.
Can I just had a thought. What makes Daenerys the heir to the throne?
Nothing.
She just thinks it's owed to her, right?
She thinks she's the only surviving bloodman.
I understand her father was the king, but then her father was overtaken.
Yeah.
Yes.
So why does she think
supposed to be the son or whatever?
But why does she think she's owed the throne?
She wants to be the most powerful one, I guess. They both want to be. It's a power trip for both of them.
Well, it started out that way too. She just felt that she was supposed to be the rightful heir to the throne because of the way that their whole family got dismantled by their doing as a result of somebody slaying the king and everything else. And if it wasn't for that, it would eventually go down to the next person in line and the next person in line, essentially, because the Targaryens were in power at that time, right? So I think it's more about that than anything, because she says that that should have never happened that way. Therefore, I should have never lost my right to the throne. And Robert's rebellion, all that fucking shit, that was the reason that they made their way onto the throne, right? So, and the king slaying shit and everything else, right? So,
okay, fair enough.
They killed somebody. Yeah, they killed them to get onto the throne. So,
right.
Yeah, I think this conversation between Tyrion and Varys is necessary, but everybody's going to be thinking it. But I think it's treason what Varys is saying.
Absolutely, it's treason.
And I think Tyrion, although he might believe it or feel the same way, he's very, very cautious with how he's going to be addressing this.
Yep. At Winterfell, Jaime arrives in the courtyards to see that Sansa Stark and Brienne have just received a messenger raven from Varys, informing them of the attack on Daenerys' fleet and the situation in the south. Cersei killed one of the dragons that Daenerys loves like children and took her close advisor captive. Sansa notes to Jaime that they will execute his sister for this. There is no way Daenerys would let her surrender with her life now. Later at night, Jaime gets up from the bed he now shares with Brienne and thinks long and hard. Brienne awakes to find him gone and then rushes to catch him outside as he saddles a horse to return south to Cersei. Brienne starts crying and pleads that he doesn't need to go to her. He is a good person now. Jaime bitterly tells her that he isn't. He threw Bran out of a window for Cersei, killed his cousin Alton to get back to her, and nearly killed every man, woman, and child in Riverrun for her. Brienne says that Cersei is hateful, to which Jaime responds, "So am I," and rides out of the castle, leaving Brienne weeping. What the fuck? and I wrote down stupid fucking Jaime here, and then I wrote, he doesn't deserve a happy ending, but it doesn't mean that someone can't change. I stand by that. And again, I said earlier episodes that Christina will question why I even said it because of the whole thing, because I said out of everybody's character arc in the show, I loved his the most up to this fucking point. I want to make that very clear. I just wish that this isn't the direction that he went. It was back to Cersei.
Yeah, it's dumb.
It's dumb. It's really fucking dumb. But there we are.
He loves his family. What are you going to do?
A small contingent of Unsullied escort Daenerys and her advisors to approach one of the gates of King's Landing on the landward side opposite the docks. They see that the defenses have been drastically improved. Each of the city wall towers now has one of the improved anti-dragon weapons that Qyburn developed. Drogon, Daenerys' last remaining dragon, hangs back behind them on the ground, stalking back and forth in anger. Cersei stands atop the gatehouse with Euron Greyjoy, Gregor Clegane, and the Chain Missandei. Tyrion Lannister approaches the gate to parley. Qyburn comes out alone to speak with him. Tyrion says Daenerys asked for Cersei's unconditional surrender. Qyburn counters that this is ironic, as Cersei sent him to ask for their surrender. He points out that the northern Targaryen armies have been badly depleted and exhausted by fighting the White Walkers. While Cersei has reinforced King's Landing with the Golden Company, their new defenses mean that it would be a risk to attack with a dragon and kill so many innocent people. Any comments here? We're in the last scenes here.
I just think it's funny how they were able to get there so quick again, and and they reinforced the whole wall. They had these new weapons everywhere. It's like, fuck, man. Something new.
Yeah. It was eye-opening and a little nerve-wracking. Again, the anxiety was going up, like, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? What's going to happen? Because,
well, we know.
You just never know. In like true Game of Thrones style, it's like, which way is this going to go?
I just really fucking hated on Cersei in this moment because she's sitting pretty over there, not having to lift the fucking finger in the White Walker situation. That was no, but that's what's so great about it. It was dealt for her. It was dealt with for her. They didn't lose anybody because of that, and now she's sitting pretty and basically poking the bear, trying to get her to attack and kill all her people that she does not give a fucking shit about. It is evil. It is fucking evil on another fucking level. Say whatever you want about whether you think Daenerys is the right fucking person for the throne or whatever else you want, but
Cersei isn't.
This is fucking terrible on many.
Yeah, this is
it's so bad. It's so bad what she does.
She could be the Mad Queen, and it's almost like a Mad Queen.
So
Mad King,
yeah.
She's just cuckoo.
Listen, Tyrion.
It's called menopause. They had it early that year.
Tyrion tries his best here, man. Tyrion tries his best.
Yeah, he really tries to plead to like the good person in her, and you think for a moment, maybe,
There's no good in that thing.
Despite Cersei's earlier betrayal in the Dragon Pit Summit, Tyrion nonetheless walks closer to plead with his sister. Cersei's archers get ready to shoot him, but after a long pause of consideration, she motions for them to stand down. Desperate, Tyrion begs that she is not the monster she thinks she is, and that her one redeeming feature has always been her love for her children. Cersei might prefer to go down in flames, dragging Daenerys with her, but it would be condemning her unborn baby to death as well. Cersei pauses, thinks on it, and then quietly tells Missandei that if she has any last words, now is the time. I'm still surprised that she didn't kill Tyrion though, even in this moment. Even so, as far gone as she is, she still didn't have the heart attack
because she's torturing him. It's torture.
Scaring him too, because in case he ever has to go back.
You're right, because the look I just looked down on my notes here to Christina's point. I wrote Cersei, the look that she has in this scene looks like she can't wait to fuck with Tyrion. I wrote that down.
It's villainous.
Yeah.
And it's like she knows that like it's gonna eat him alive the longer that she dangles the carrot in front of their face or keeps playing with them. She's just playing a big game. Like she doesn't really give a shit about them. She's like
all about her.
Defiant, Missandei shouts Dracarys, the command for Dragonfire. With a nod from Cersei, the hulking Gregor decapitates Missandei with a single swing of his sword, her head and body falling onto the ground below.
You actually see that, eh?
Yeah.
That's so cool, man.
Grey Worm is horrified and turns his face away. Daenerys, seething with rage, I loved her, silently turns away and withdraws from the city. And here we go.
I was hoping that you said Dracarys and some dragon was gonna come out of nowhere and fucking start burning everybody, but no, that didn't happen.
No, that was another scene that like just like I shrieked. I was like, oh my god, now it's on. Now it is on. Like if it wasn't on before, it's game over now. Like you've just like you've poked the dragon. Like you've poked it. Like you have totally awakened it. You are fucked. And
that was like her only friend, you know what I mean? That's in a sense, that's like her only trust.
And I think it was, it's a little not ironic, but it's a little like telling that Missandei dies while in chains. Like she has chains on her.
Look at you, yeah.
Uses, right, and she uses like Dracarys as like maybe like an ode to Daenerys, like in how she, broke the chains, and also like maybe permission.
Mm-hmm. Good fucking observation. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, that's very true. Yeah, a lot of thematic type shit happening here. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, very.
I was just hoping she didn't get her head cut off, but she apparently got her body cut off.
her whole body fell to the ground off the tower. Yeah. Missandei, that sucks for her to go out like that. But yeah, that's it's, you know, they were getting to that point in the series, as Jay said. Yeah, they're clearing the decks of a lot of characters. And there's more to come, guys, as we continue on to the 5th episode of 6 episodes this final season of Game of Thrones. And we'll
great episode.
Yeah, great episode. Great discussions all around. And actually, guys, I gotta say, this might be one of my favorite episodes I've ever recorded with you guys. Honestly, this is actually this is one of my favorite episodes I think we've recorded of this show, because there were so many great discussions today amongst the episodes that we had. Our great guest, or she's not even a guest anymore, guys. Christina, of course, our third co-host here, the Secret Keeper. No, honestly, great discussions all around here today. That was really good. It
was a good one. Yeah.
Yeah, this is one of our longest episodes that we've ever done of this show, because there's so many great discussions, passionate discussions around this. And you guys will catch us for the next 2, guys. Christina will be joining us for those as well, as we finish out this great series of ours here, Game of Thrones. And I know Jay can't wait. You can't fucking wait, Jay. Look at your face.
2 more episodes, thank God. I'm done with this shit. No, I'm not. I can't wait. I like I said, I'm only.
Can't believe it's at the end.
I haven't even watched the other 2 yet, so.
All right, guys. Well, Christina, anything else? Anything else you want to say?
I just hope that JT comes to the next recordings with actual, I need depth, JT. I want to know your true feelings, because I have a lot. I can't wait to unload. I cannot wait.
I watch a lot of television, so that's probably why I don't have feelings for characters.
I can't wait to just get into this. I can't.
Also, there's one thing too with this though too. You gotta think of it in this sense. Even though I think you should have some feeling towards all this, Jay has watched this show over the span of a year, as opposed to how long we spent with the show, right? So I mean, if his feelings towards everything aren't as deep rooted, I can tell you he's really fucking into the show. I know that. But he also, knowing him, he could have fucking finished the show within a month's time, if it wasn't for the fact we've been doing this show.
Right.
So you have spent lots of hours. We've spent 70 plus hours doing this show, talking about this show. So I mean, you should have some feeling towards this.
I know, but I'm still trying to take it all in too. I'm still trying to,
Right. I know it's hard. The first time you watch it, you have to, Nico, this is your second time rewatching it, right? So it's you have to take time to really digest it. And that's why me on my 8th time watching this show, I'm going to go back and watch it again. I know I am. I know I am. I'm a freak. I'm sorry.
No, it's all right. That's why you're the super fan of this episode, honestly. So I'll leave you with this. I was going to maybe leave this till we get off the show. Given that information, though, should we separate? Because, guys, a little peek behind the curtain, as I've said it before, we usually try to bank about 2 of these episodes in one recording, one sitting of recording these. Should we separate the last 2 recordings so we don't actually know the ending before we talk about that last episode? Because it does make a difference when we talk about and sit here and record 2 episodes, because our feelings are going to be separated, not knowing what actually happens for Jay week to week. What do you think, Christina? Because you've seen this many more times. I don't really have as good of a memory of those last 2 episodes.
I have time. So
maybe we should do it that way. We should
because I think watch the next one. Let's record and then watch the final one. And because it's true, you're gonna have feelings from the finale that you're gonna seep into 5.
And plus, the episodes that we've done today, the last 2, we're pushing an hour and a half, an hour and 45 minutes. So if we separate those last 2, the finale could easily take 2+ hours, honestly, to discuss. Honestly, no, I'm serious. If we're really gonna break everything down,
we're gonna listen to the prior to the recording. If we're gonna listen,
right,
we're gonna listen.
Right, right. So we might have to do that. So you get JT's initial fucking reaction without having known what's coming ahead. Because every other time we've done it, we've watched 2 at a time. But this might be better if you watch 1 at a time for these ones. I'm gonna hold you to it. Don't do it. Don't watch it. Okay, you down? Okay.
I got other stuff to fill.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Now there you go, guys. That's what we're gonna do. It's agreed upon. Then that'll be a good one. Because we've banked episodes for enough time. We have time to do it, guys, even with our schedule. So yeah. Okay. So there you have it, everybody. That'll be a lot of fun. So make sure to tune in as we conclude these episodes, the last 2 episodes of the season. Thank you again to Christina, aka the Secret Keeper here, for joining us. And Jay, thank you as always, man. All right.
Guys.
Later, guys.
Bye.